Hi, I'm Mark from Maxava. I'm going to present some information about our products. Maxava HA release update, June 2023. Enhancements. Increased dynamic object support via Maxsys. The following commands have been added to the Maxsys dynamic functionality. This will allow extra captures to be occurring for these object-related types. MX Work Replica. New status options when viewing list of configurations. The current MX Work Replication display will show the configuration statuses as either active or inactive. An additional status has been added for message wait, *MSGW. The new status message wait will be shown if a related running configuration has a related batch job which goes into message wait state. Using option 18 from the MX Work Replication display will allow you to see the related running batch jobs for the configuration, and if there is a message wait, you can view the job logs from that display entry. Important note, if you have a process of using the configuration command mx retrieve config, this has been updated to include an extra value of m. This is for message wait. This is in the RTN ACT STS field. From the MX Work Replication display, as well as the traditional active or inactive configuration statuses, we now have the *MSG wait or message wait. This indicates that an active configuration has a job that is in message wait. If I use option 18, I will see a list of the jobs. The list indicates that the data config 1 control job has a message wait. If I review the job log, the message wait is indicating that my remote journal has become inactive. Another enhancement in this PTF, license expiry warning from the MX Work RPL display. When the One Maxava license is nearing expiry, there will be a message sent to the system operator message queue. This can sometimes be missed or not followed up on. The GUI has always presented an expiration within 30 days. The MX Work RPL or TUI now has the ability to present that 30-day message as well. When accessing the MX Work RPL display, if the license key is going to expire within the next 30 days, a message will be shown at the bottom indicating the number of days left and the expiry date for the current license key. You can always do function 1 to get an overall image of the product, PTF and actual expiry date that's currently set. Another enhancement, the view save details from the MX Work RPL has had an order change. The view save details from the TUI MX Work RPL has now been changed to show the date and time order. Using option 17 from your configuration view save details, this will present a list of the saves in the now date time format. Additional enhancements. Audit of OutQ attributes include the IP address. The description audit for object type *OutQ has added a check for IP address for the remote output queue field. Enhancements. Added support for remote password on save restore commands at i7.4 and above. From the IBM i7-4, you can now specify a remote user ID and remote password when executing an IBM i save restore command. The Maxava processing program via MaxSys functionality now supports these parameters being used at 7.4 and above. Enhancement, resync of authority list. The Maxava command mxsync now provides the support for resyncing authority list type *AUTL objects. Changes to an authority list cannot be dynamically captured and are picked up via the Maxava HA description audits. This enhancement provides the ability for advanced users of Maxava HA to manage replication and resync of authority lists alongside their manual updates they perform on an authority list process using the mxsync request. Enhancement. Check QM subsystem when activating a *MQ replication. When performing in *MQ replication type, it is a requirement that the QM subsystem is active on the target system. This would be active, but usually no jobs would be running. For the Maxava HA *MQ replication, the MQ messages are stored on the target, and periodically the MQ jobs are activated, which must run in the active QM subsystem to replay the messages. When the QM subsystem is inactive, the replication sends error messages to the job log of the configuration and cannot process correctly. As the QM subsystem needs to be active on the target, it will now check and validate when the MQ configuration is started. If the QM subsystem is inactive, we will activate the subsystem. This function now includes a new property called MNG MQ SBS, Manage MQ Subsystem. So if for some reason a customer does not want the QM subsystem activated on the target, they can set the property MNG MQ SBS to a value of *no. If no property is set, then the default is *yes, which means the configuration MQ will activate the QM subsystem if it is not currently running on the target. As the QM subsystem on the target is required to be active for *MQ replication, if the property is set to *no, the *MQ configuration ends abnormally and a message is sent to the configuration message queue or the QSysOpper message queue. The message queue being used is again defined in the property MNG MQ SBS. If you are setting the new Manage MQ Subsystem property, by default it will set as start the inactivated configuration *start, and it will send alerts to the SysOpper message queue. If you don't want it activated, set to *none, and if you don't want to use the SysOpper message queue but the configuration message queue, put *no. Enhancements. Command scripting functionality, CSF enhancements. The following enhancements are in the package for command script functions. You can now specify an execution delay between each command. You can set a default exception delay when you define the script. This will apply to all commands as part of the script. Additionally, you can override the default by setting a default time to each individual command. In the command scripting functionality, when you create a new command script, you will have a default execution delay. If you want this to be applied to all commands, then you can set a time in seconds of how many seconds each command will be delayed. When setting a command in the command script, you can choose to use the default delay time from the commit itself, or you can change each command to have its own default delay time. Object sets or object lists can now be defined as a default non-dynamic or as a new dynamic type. The new dynamic type allows you to specify generic object names. Also, a new special Maxava HA internal type called *HA_config has been added, and this can be used with the new dynamic object list type. The *HA_CFG object type will dynamically retrieve all configuration names and set them in the object list each time it is used. You can also define to only select configuration types by using the object attribute field for *HA_config. These can be set as data, IFS, QDLS, or MQ. When the object attribute field is blank for *HA_CFG, all configuration types are included. In the command scripting function, when defining a object set or object list, you now have the options of creating a dynamic or non-dynamic object list type. Once the list has been created as either dynamic or non-dynamic, it cannot be changed after that point. As an example, using a dynamic list, I can now use the *HA_config object type to retrieve a list of all my configurations. So *all for all names, my Maxava application library name, *HA_config. This will retrieve all configuration names that I have currently set up in my environment each time the command script is executed. The dynamic list can also specify to exclude a named objects. For example, if you want a list of all the Maxava HA configurations except configuration DEV-CFG, you can set up an exclude option by setting the name, setting the *HA_config type, and then setting the exclude field as yes. So by using the exclude field, I'm now able to set an example here. I want to retrieve all configuration names, but I wish to exclude a configuration called dev-CFG. By setting the exclude flag, it will now not be part of the object listing. As mentioned, once an object list has been defined as either dynamic or non-dynamic, it cannot be changed from that setting. Full information on command scripting and these latest enhancements are available in the latest version of the Maxava Operations Guide. As a basic example of showing using that dynamic listing for the HA_config, I'm going to run my start_config command script in print mode. As the command is executed, the dynamic object listing of HA_config is built. The names of my current configurations are then passed through to the commands being executed. Other items addressed in this PTF package: an object memory leak from the MXAU objd command has now been corrected. Orphan audit processing for virtual devices has now corrected, identifying extra devices on the target system. An audit of menu attributes has been corrected, Triggers and Constraints CCSID issue has been corrected. A reset status after object change has now corrected the status field updates. Subsystem attribute replication changes have been made to support star-libel processing. Please refer to the cover letter for full and more details. The updates in this PTF package are available from these PTF versions for the related products. Note, there is also a new GUI update that is provided with this PTF package separately for the changes to the status display for message weight. Thank you for viewing this video.